Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see a full house. I'd like to call the meeting of the City of Bloomington Council Committee of the Whole to order. Could you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Kearns,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bolin,
Here.
Councilmember Mattei,
Here.
Councilmember Dannenberger,
Here.
Councilmember Becker,
Here.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Here.
Councilmember Ward,
Here.
Councilmember Lee,
Here.
and we have Councilmember Crumpler and Mayor Millavomble absent.
Okay, the next agenda item is recognition of the International City Managers Association High Performance Leadership Academy graduating class, Bloomington cohort number 2, as requested by the administration department. There is no motion, it's just a presentation, and I will hand it over to City Manager Gleason.
Thank you very much, council, and to the community. Excited about this. As Mayor Pro Tem Bolin said, this is cohort number 2. And what this is, ICMA is the International City Managers Association, and they have a leadership series. The actual company is Professional Development Academy. This is major investment by the city in our leadership and visionary staff members that we have, and it's exciting. There's a time commitment to this. It's exhaustive. This is done on and off the regular duty hours. It's 12 weeks, and it truly is a commitment on the part of our staff. Another thing that we do is try to seize opportunities in this, mix people that might not normally come together, depending on the departments that they're in, different ranks, within the individual departments, but everyone in here in cohort number 1, and some of those attendees are present. And then now cohort number 2, clearly leaders in the future of this organization. So very proud. I'm going to recognize, I know that we have some that are absent, but when I call your name, please stand. And then I think that there was a spokesperson elected. Dave, it's probably you. And you're going to come up to that mic and you're going to talk a little bit about this experience. So excited. Sergeant Jared Bierbaum, he's with the police department. He is absent tonight, but he was one of 10. Steve Crouch, please stand. Thanks, sir. Dave Lamb, spokesperson. Ashley Lara, and she is with the city clerk's office. She's absent as well. Brett Lucian, assistant director in water. And then Corey Matheny, our fire chief. Corey, thanks. Catherine Murphy behind, back there, communications external affairs manager. Kelly Pfeiffer, she wasn't here too long before we threw her right into this and does an amazing job. She is the assistant director in the economic community development department. Very proud to have you here. Katie Stamp, please stand. Office manager, that really doesn't describe everything that you do. You're everywhere, and appreciate you being a part of this and what you do for the city. Office manager and public works. And then Tina Swanson is with HR. She's a benefits supervisor, and she's not present this evening. Dave, if you would come up to the mic, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Gleason, council. Thank you very much for giving us a few minutes here tonight to talk. The course was fantastic. We really, really enjoyed it. Learned a lot about ourselves and each other's in the class. We want to thank you for the financial commitment that you all put forward to help us with this. We learned a lot about the different operations within the city that we weren't directly related to. A lot of people, we knew their names and stuff, but we hadn't really directly interacted with them before. So that was very helpful. Several of us were going through changes in our current positions at the time, along with some departmental changes. And we had several modules on leading effective change and things like that that were very beneficial to what we were actually going through. The course was extremely timely. We spent 12 weeks together, and we plan on continuing to our communication together moving forward. We met once a week in the city hall in the fishbowl. But you had multiple hours of coursework you also had to do during the week. So I know people worked on it after hours, on the weekends, things like that. So as Tim said, it is an investment of time and energy. We highly recommend this course for future candidates if the administration sees fit. We did want to let you guys know that. And I did want to share just a few comments that some of the members have said that they got out of the class. A new sense of confidence in their personal leadership style. More self-aware. People became more aware of how their actions are viewed by others. We created a new camaraderie within ourselves and different departments within the city. People felt they had a sense of boosted confidence and a sense of nurtured personal growth and improved communication. One of the things also that we learned was leaders do not have a bad day. So we're always trying to be positive every day. And some of the aspects of servant leadership that I know Mr. Gleason's very knowledgeable of was a lot of times you have to give people what they need, and that's not always what they want. So we all learned a lot, and we're continuing to dip into the coursework as it's still available to us to review. And we just wanted to say thank you. And if you got any questions, I'm sure some of the other people would be happy to come up and answer them. So thank you all very much.
Any questions or comments? I would like to thank each and every one of you for participating in this because I believe it really makes the organization much better. So I'll come reach out to you guys.
Thank you, Donna. Appreciate it.
Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
We received no emailed public comment or registers to speak this evening.
So nobody. Okay. So the next agenda item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Hendricks and second by Councilmember Motney. Is it roll call or?
No, it's electronic and it should be available now. All right, it's not available to some. I will just do a quick roll call. Councilmember Kearns,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin.
Yes.
Thanks. Councilmember Dannenberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the regular agenda. The first item is presentation by Chief Justice Costigan of the summary of McLean County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council work over the past 5 years as requested by the Administration Department. There is no motion, it's presentation only. And welcome, Judge. Oh, perfect. And you can turn the microphone on for everybody. Thank you.
Judge, if you don't mind, I'm just going to have a couple opening quick comments. We did make this request and Chief Judge Costigan is chair of the McLean County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. And this fits in a conversation that's been going on in the community for quite some time, but this has been in existence for the last handful of years. So felt that this was appropriate. We have Alderman Becker that also sits on this council, and I guess I'd want to pass the floor to you before we go to Chief Judge.
Thank you very much, City Manager. One of the reasons why I thought this was so important is with all the efforts and discussions around safety in our new committee, I thought it was really important that people understand what's already out there, what's existing, and how there can be good collaboration between the two. I don't want to see any wasted effort or that because we're not in sync. So I thought it would be great to have you here to explain and give the history. But I also, and maybe I'm stepping out of bounds here, I don't know where Will is, but maybe we could consider inviting the chair of our committee to the regular criminal justice coordination meetings. I think that could be a helpful thing to keep us all in sync. But thank you very much for taking your time.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the introduction. Chief Justice, I've been promoted.
Oh,
And so, but
I'm just reading what's in front of me.
I like the title, but that's a couple courts above me. But thank you. Again, my name is Casey Costigan, and I am the Chief Judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit, which is 5 counties here in central Illinois. And I am here tonight with Will Scanlon, our trial court administrator, who basically handles the in and out day-to-day aspects of running the courts here in McLean County, as well as the other 5 counties or 4 counties that encompass the 11th Judicial Circuit. I am here. It was my understanding that you would like some information regarding the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in terms of what it is, what we do, and I'm glad to share that with you. If folks have questions, I'm not sure if questions are allowed, but I will be more than happy to try to answer those questions and share any information that we have with you. Just by way of quick background, for my background, I think it might be important to know that I became a judge in 2006 and was immediately assigned to the criminal division. Over the last 17 years on the bench, I have spent all but a short period of time in the criminal division, handling all aspects of the criminal cases from minor traffic. And then the last 8 years, I've been handling major felonies and general felonies. And so I've kind of gone through the gamut of the criminal division. Last year, I took over the chief judge responsibilities, which are more administrative, and I switched to a juvenile delinquency docket. Those folks who are under 18 and charged with an offense. And so, again, it's a new area, but it fits well in terms of, I think, what your committees are looking at this point in time. The Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, which we refer to it as the CJCC, was formed in 2009, in essence, to address a single problem that we had here in the community, and that was jail overcrowding. At that time, McLean County was spending approximately $750,000 a year housing inmates out because we didn't have the room or the staff to accommodate everyone who was being incarcerated over across the street. Then Chief Judge Beth Robb decided that we needed to get the criminal justice stakeholders together and talk about this problem and figure it out. And that's what started the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. It was the first one in the state of Illinois. Since then, the Supreme Court has recognized the good work that these councils do, and they encourage every county or every circuit to have a coordinating council to bring the stakeholders together to discuss issues that are ongoing in the criminal divisions. The council brought in various groups, including at that point in time, the National Department of Corrections. The stakeholders became educated on the problem of jail overcrowding. They discussed solutions, and within 6 months, there was no longer a problem with regard to housing inmates out. They solved a $750,000 problem in a very short period of time with just getting together and discussing the problems and figuring it out. In addition to fixing the short-term problem of the of the $750,000, they also knew that they needed a longer term fix. And that is why we have the new jail over in the east side of the parking lot of the Law and Justice Center. And that was a result of all of that efforts as well. And after that problem was addressed, they saw how things worked and how good it was to have the stakeholders sitting around the table and discussing issues. So they decided to keep it together. They said, let's not end this. We're doing a good job keeping everybody together. And so the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council was formed at that point in time. There is a mission statement, and it provides the McLean County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council fosters collaboration and communication between criminal justice agencies and partners who educate, inform, and explore best practices together to continually improve the administration of justice. Our charge is to provide fair and just outcomes, improve public safety, reduce recidivism, and responsibly use resources for the benefit of McLean County residents. So that's what our charge is in going forward with this commission, is to do those things. The Criminal Justice Coordinating Council does have an executive committee that is made up of the chief judge. I preside over the entire council itself. The presiding judge of the criminal division is the one responsible for the executive committee. We have the sheriff, the state's attorney, the public defender, the jail superintendent, director of court services, the county administrator. Those are the folks who sit on the executive committee. We meet monthly to discuss the issues. And then 4 times a year, we have a committee of the whole, or a group as a whole, to where we bring in all the community stakeholders as well. There's a meeting actually this Thursday, I believe here in this room, where we will have a meeting of the whole, and we discuss the issues and the work of the executive committee with regard to what we are doing and what we are trying to accomplish. In addition to the individuals on the executive committee, we have also contracted with the ISU Stevenson Center, Dr. Frank Beck, to do research for us. And we direct him in terms of the issues that we're looking at. We ask him to research those issues. We give him information, jail information, criminal information. He goes ahead and performs research for us, gathers the data, and brings it back to us so we can make informed decisions based upon the data that he has brought back to us. And that's just a very brief and general background in terms of the work that we're trying to get done. After the jail overcrowding issue was resolved, we continued to research the jail for a number of years in terms of who was in the jail, the length of stay that they were staying in the jail, ethnicity, those types of things of the folks in the jail, and to make sure that the folks who were in the jail were the ones who we actually wanted there or needed there for community safety purposes. And I think the issue actually worked. We are seeing it worked, especially with the implementation of the Safety Act last September, because when the Safety Act was implemented this last September, our jail numbers really didn't change much. And so it told us that basically the people that we had in there before, and after the implementation of the Safety Act, where the legislature gave us some direction as to who they thought should be in there, were the same people. We weren't unnecessarily housing people who probably shouldn't be in there. We didn't have a significant change. In 2018, in McLean County, that was a very violent year. And there was a number of shootings and murders, and most of the defendants in those cases that were apprehended and the victims were young men, usually between 17 and 26, were the ages of either the victims or the individuals who were charged with those crimes. I was presiding judge of the criminal division at that point in time. The jail issue had pretty much run its course. We continued to keep an eye on that. And so the decision was made among the executive committee that maybe the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council should switch directions a bit and look at this issue in terms of the violent crime here in the community, especially the youth crime that is occurring, and study that and see if there is anything that we could do from a criminal justice stakeholder standpoint to intervene, and whether we could provide support in terms of the resources that we're actually working in terms of preventing the crime. And so that's what our focus became in 2018 at that point in time. We asked Dr. Beck to start getting us data in terms of what was going on. We knew that there was a lot of programs in the community that addressed the youth and the rehabilitation of youth, but we weren't exactly clear in terms of what all of these programs did and what was effective, what was working, and what wasn't. And so what we began to do as part of our charge is we began to educate. We began to educate people on the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, including ourselves, and bringing these organizations in and having them talk about what they did, what their programs were, and whether it fit with us. We asked Dr. Beck to look at the data and say, here's where some good intervention points would be for these individuals. We began to interview people, and we asked Dr. Beck, go out and interview these people, these youths who were in the juvenile detention center, but didn't go on to any type of adult recidivism. What was successful? What was the intervention point at that point in time that actually worked for them, that we could maybe step in and assist with that? And he did that for us. He interviewed a number of individuals. We found some programs, some intervention points that we thought we could assist with. And so we started to implement things that would help in that regard. In addition to that, once he finished that research, we said, now go to the people who had community-based sentences, who were on probation, who didn't recidivate, who didn't go from a juvenile offense to an adult offense. And let's start talking with them and see what works with them. And he's in the process of doing that at this point in time. We're still waiting on data from him at this point in time. But again, I think probably the answers are going to be the same in terms of what we get. We've listened to people such as Jack McQueen from the city of Bloomington. I see the chief and some higher ups from the city of Bloomington back there. If you listen to Jack McQueen for an hour, you would be very educated in terms of what happens in this community and how things happen in the community. A number of things that we found out that in 2018, even with all the violence that was taking place at that point in time, it was in essence two groups and a smaller number of individuals from those two groups that were creating the problems. A number of these murders took place over $10 worth of pot. And social media began to explode after certain things happened, and there was retaliation for certain things. All this information was passed on to judges, to probation, and it gave us all a sense in terms of where we needed to go and what we needed to do in terms of intervention points and where we could develop programs to make sure that this type of thing wasn't happening in the future. We heard from people such as Andrew Held. Andrew is no longer in the community. I believe he's up at Salem's Children's Home. But Andrew was one of the people in the community that had the ability to walk into a garage before one group might go and retaliate against another group and maybe talk a group down before that retaliation took place. And I can't tell you whether he did good or bad because there's no way to measure something that didn't actually happen. But my guess is probably he had a significant effect in terms of intervening. And when Andrew was in the community, the CJCC said, what can we do to help? Where can we help you? Andre Hersey, who works with the city of Bloomington. Andre has a program outside of his employment to where he mentors underprivileged youth and provides them with opportunities. He has come and spoke with us a couple of times, personally met with a number of us a number of times. And I know in my juvenile delinquency docket, when I have an individual that I see as an at-risk youth who might have an opportunity for a mentor program, Andre is somebody I call and say, here's somebody, what can I do? What can I put in place where an intervention point? And he helps me through it. Other things that we've done, probation, Suzanne Montoya, who's our director of probation. Suzanne, when Cassie Taylor who's now the county administrator, was head of probation. Suzanne started a program called Emerging Adults. Basically took 18 to 26-year-olds who were on probation and began to form an intensive form of probation. She sits in all of our meetings. She looked at these programs and said, here's good intervention points. Here's programs that work. And she began to implement those programs in terms of probation to help prevent recidivism. One of the things that we've seen and heard on a regular basis is mentorship. My thought was always a mentor. They should see what's available to them. We should have somebody, for instance, higher up from State Farm, perhaps come out and talk to these individuals, let them see what they can become. And that's not what we heard at all from the people we interviewed. What we heard from the people we interviewed is we want people with like-kind experiences, with similar life experiences that we've had who have gotten their way, who've worked their way out of it. And so we changed the way we've done certain things in terms of the people we look to provide mentorship programs. Again, those are the types of things we are doing with the CJCC. You might ask, what are the metrics in terms of your success, or are you measuring success? And I would just tell you this. I don't know how we measure success with this because it's tough to measure success for something that doesn't happen. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to prevent things from happening in the first place. I can tell you this, that the data does show that the Bloomington Normal area, McLean County area, has significantly less numbers in terms of gun violence, in terms of murders, than surrounding communities of our like size. I would love to go ahead and say the CJCC was the reason for that, but my guess is the chief might take some issues with me on that. And in terms of other law enforcement, I don't know what's working, but something is working in terms of the things that we are trying and doing. That's what we're doing at this point in time. We are more than happy to share any data that we have, any types of information that we have with you. If you're pursuing these types of ideas, and the more people, the better, who become educated on these issues, and makes our job a whole lot easier. So I'll be glad to take any questions. I appreciate the time to explain what we're doing here. But that's just a very broad overview in terms of the types of things that we're doing.
Are there any questions? Comments?
Can you share or maybe Will can do it, just a list of the different groups that are regularly supporting? You kind of gave it a little bit of it before, but I think it would be helpful for everybody to know who's all involved.
Good evening. My name is William Scanlon. I'm the trial court administrator, and I do provide the staffing to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. We generally look at the community leaders at the county, the city and town of Normal. Since this is focused on criminal justice, we have also reached out the criminal justice departments for both Wesleyan and for Illinois State University. We do have a partnership with Loyola University through Dr. David Olson for some additional research services. And then we have reached out some specific community groups from, and that has evolved over time. We have had members of the clergy. We have the chaplain to the jail as a standing member of the committee. And we also have some civic groups involved, including Project Oz, PATH, the League of Women Voters, among others. And as the issues change, that we are pursuing those groups of community individuals, and the organizations change slightly, but we are always open to hearing from new organizations. We're always open to hearing for new ideas and new pursuits, as long as we can understand the idea and the data supports continued operation of those proposals. So I can provide the committee a specific list of all the organizations we have. There's probably 32 different organizations. Again, most of them are going to be criminal justice related, but some of them are not.
Anybody else? I would like to make a comment why I think you're successful. It's coordination. It's talking to all the different groups involved. And I think that really is important. That's probably what the staff that attended the that city manager or became cohorts, you know, they're going to be coordinating much better within the community. So thank you.
You're welcome. To go to that point, I am suite mates with Judge Barnes, who used to be the public defender here in McLean County. And I did ask her before I came over, I said, what was the big thing for you when you were sat on the coordinating council? And she said, being able to sit in the room with the state's attorney and actually talk about issues and talk about direction without it being an adversarial situation in the courtroom was very helpful. And I think that goes directly to your point, where we talk about the issues and we figure it out
Okay,
best we can.
thank you.
Very tough issue.
I would add one thing on that, and that's what I see when I sit in there. It's a very diverse ideological group. You know, you have every perspective in there, but in every meeting that I've ever been in, I've never seen anybody closed. Everybody's open to listen and truly seek out solving a problem with all the relevant stakeholders. And it's one of the most effective things I've seen, both personally and professionally as well. So it's a great meeting and it's run very well.
As was suggested earlier, if there's a specific member of the council or of the group you're forming that you want to be invited to these meetings, I'm happy to add them to our email distribution list. Again, we have a meeting this coming Thursday at noon on the 18th in this very room. All the full council meetings are public meetings and anyone can attend, but we will reach out specifically to the persons who we want to get an invitation.
A clarifying question. You said the group that we're forming, can someone inform me what the group is that we're forming?
If there was a organization or if the city was going to pursue some policy goal outside of the CJCC, if you have an ad hoc committee or a committee that you're forming to pursue a goal, we can certainly have you participate in our meetings if you already are not doing so.
Were you saying something specific?
The committee that you proposed, the chairman of that committee.
Are you talking about the Special Commission on Safe Communities? Ah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is presentation and discussion of the proposed downtown streetscape project as requested by the administration department. Again, it's just a presentation and I'm going to pass it off to Deputy City Manager Tyus.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bolin, Mayor and council members. Tonight, really, we're wanting to talk to you about where we stand with regards to the streetscape planning process. As you know, as most folks know here, we are proposing a streetscape project downtown to build upon all the great work that's already happening there, to bring a new look and feel and energy. And again, building upon some of the things that are already happening there. We want to do things like make the public spaces more active and give people more of a reason to come downtown other than for shopping and dining. We want them to be able to be there and be active and do things in the downtown. We want to make it more walkable and less driven by vehicles. We want to do things like make it more friendly to bikers, address ADA concerns. I know that several folks on the council and everybody obviously wants to make sure that we address ADA concerns. We want to do more to connect the downtown to the surrounding community. we have often heard that our downtown, while it's fantastic, is separate. And so we want to do more with this work if it's approved, to really connect the downtown to the rest of the community. And again, frankly, we want to do more to beautify. This isn't about beautification, but while we have a downtown with a great historic charm and feel and great businesses and restaurants, it could use some help in terms of beautifying the area as well. And so those, among other things, are reasons that this project is being proposed. In October, after months of analysis, seemed like years of analysis, and planning, we kicked off what was a second phase of public input. The last year plus was really spent meeting with community groups and utility providers and IDOT and performing traffic analysis and looking at underground utilities to make sure, as Mayor Pro Tem Bolin has talked about in the past, if something happens there, we don't build it over something that's problematic and then we have to come in and tear it up. So doing that type of analysis, there's a lot of time spent doing those things that isn't exciting to people necessarily, but was necessary to get us to where we are now. As I said, we kicked off that second phase in roughly October, and we held a public meeting at the BCPA. We stood up a website, which I think is fantastic, frankly, which is downtownforeveryone.com. We've had a steering committee guiding our efforts as well. And just started that second phase. We've taken in input, we continue to take in input. And as part of this most recent phase, what we've done is really we've presented some concepts, but we also asked questions about people's appetite for certain design styles. We looked at, one style that maintained the current level of parking, another style that improved walkability but reduced parking, another style that provided the greatest amount of pedestrian space, but again, significantly reduced parking. Now, I thought that what we would find was that everybody wanted more parking. That's not what we found so far, which was really surprising to me. As part of those efforts that I talked about, those outreach efforts, we had 10,000 people visit the Downtown for Everyone website, or 10,000 people, 10,000 clicks of the website. I can't say that was 10,000 people, but 10,000 clicks of a website, which in our minds is a lot of clicks on a website. Of that, we had 2,500 people who were actively engaged, meaning that they didn't just click it and close it. They spent some time on the website, looking around or doing other things. We had more than 300 plus people who actually voted on the concepts that we've talked about. And so, again, we know that you can never have enough public input necessarily, but we were pleased with the numbers we've seen. We are pleased with the numbers we've seen so far. As you know, sometimes with government initiatives, you're lucky if you get 10 to 20 people to either come to a meeting or to participate. And so we have been pleased with the amount of input that we've gotten so far. Again, more to come. We're actually planning another public meeting in February at a date yet to be determined to talk about this and look at some of the concepts that will be proposed. Based on this work, the design team is putting together a plan for your consideration that will come to you in the spring, in the early spring, for you to consider based on this input and based on previous plans, et cetera, et cetera. What you will see tonight is, again, where we are. This isn't a final plan. This isn't the end all be all of everything, but it's what we've got based on this input that we've gotten so far. So what will happen tonight is that Mike Sewell, who is the project manager, who's from Crawford Murphy Tilley, will talk preliminarily tonight about, based on what we've gotten, where we see things going so far. And Mike, if you're already there. Mike, if you can, I think you've got a presentation that's already up there. And if you will, please, I see that there are some members of your team who are here. Maybe introduce them as well, just so people know who they are. Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have Chris Stritzel. He is the project principal back behind me. And then to his right is Kent Massey. He is with Massey and Associates. Kent is kind of the creative brains of a lot of the ideas that you've seen here. So I'll go ahead and jump in. Guys, it is great to be here. I really appreciate a chance to do what I'll call kind of a quick gallop through some updates here. There's a lot of content I want to cover, so I'm going to be moving at a pretty good clip. So if there's anything that I didn't cover, any questions that you have, please keep track of those because we will have time for questions at the end. Next slide. So could I ask, could we possibly, there's a light there back behind. We'll make this show up a bit better. Oh, no, sorry. Wrong one. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So we, as Billy mentioned, we do have some design concepts that we're eager to share with you guys. Before we do, as we're prepping for this meeting and talking with the city, we thought it'd be a good idea to just briefly revisit, why are we doing this? Why are we looking at investing in downtown? And that's a big question. There's a lot that goes into that. A big part of it certainly is just community pride, wanting to improve the quality of life for us, for our children, for our children's children. But tonight I'm going to just briefly focus on the financial piece of that. And really there's three main motivations there. The first one is the idea of the potential for spurring private sector investment. So a well-designed, well-maintained streetscape is going to attract more foot traffic downtown, which will in turn attract business development. It increases consumer spending. It's kind of common sense. The nicer we make it downtown, the more attractions we provide, the more people are going to want to come, the longer they're going to want to hang around. The second motivation, reinforcing our community's desirability or the quality of life. When you have a vibrant downtown that attracts people to the community, it retains people in the community. It's when you have a strong downtown, it's very common that the property values throughout the community increase. Increased property values, increased population, that all translates into more tax dollars, which gives you more money for investing in other things downtown. And then the third thing there, the specific improvements that we're designing are aligned perfectly with federal priorities for when they're giving out grants. So they prioritize things like safety and connectivity and sustainability and economic development. And those are all tenets of this project here. And so certainly that positions Bloomington for that public sector investment. Next slide, please. So, it would be fair if you think, okay, that sounds good. It makes sense on some level, but this is all backed up by data from a number of studies and reports. Councilman Becker, Councilwoman Montney, I know this has been a particular interest to you guys. I have just one of those studies up here, but I have others that I could provide to you guys if you're interested. And I'll let you just kind of take a look through those metrics right there. I won't take the time to dive into it tonight, but the bottom line is that, yes, this is a very major investment in downtown, but it is reasonable for you guys to expect to have a solid return on that investment. Next slide, please. So Billy already touched on this a little bit, just to kind of catch you up on the process and where we're at on it. This kind of simplified version. As Billy mentioned, we started out hot and heavy with the data collection. That's everything from looking at what utilities are underground and what the condition of those are to taking traffic counts at every intersection of downtown and building models for that. And then we get into kind of an iterative process of the design team will come up with a concept, we'll vet it past our key stakeholders, we'll refine it. When we're feeling good about it, we take it to the public and see what they think about it. As Billy mentioned, we do have the second public meeting coming up, and Billy, actually, we do have a date set for that. That would be December 13th, February 13th. Sorry, going back in time. Day before Valentine's. It'll be at BCPA again from 4 to 6 p.m. And at the conclusion of that meeting, we will have vetted every major concept past the public. And so we'll know where we stand on that. And then we'll continue to develop the drawings for every block of downtown, cost estimates, and then pull it together in that final report. Next slide, please. So this is going to be an example of this process in action. At the top there, those alternates, if you had come to the first community open house, we had physical mock-ups for 3 different street section alternatives. Each one of those, excuse me, represented a different prioritization of space based on use by on-street parking, pedestrian space, things like that. They kind of look similar up there, but I can tell you it definitely makes a difference when we're walking through the exhibits of how much elbow room you have. And so we asked the public to vote on that, and then also asked them to vote on the streetscape style down below. Classic traditional, that's what a lot of Central Illinois streetscapes look like. And then something a bit more modern contemporary, or a blend of the both. Next slide, please. So we had a clear consensus with alternate B street section and a clear consensus with that hybrid blend style. Now in design, it's not always democracy rules, but in this case, the public did validate what had been the original proposal from the design team, and which was unanimously approved by the steering committee. Next slide. So even after we select a hybrid style, that can look a lot of different ways. This is just an exploration of one of those color. And so we had kind of a tan palette that we looked at, or next slide. A red blend there. In this case, the steering committee recommended going with a red blend for a lot of the colors that you'll see throughout downtown. But that streetscape style is made up with a lot more than just colors. It's, as you'll see in other exhibits, the materials, the furnishings, the light fixture, it all comes into play with the look and feel of a downtown. Next slide, please. So we pull back here, and this shows you that selected alternate A section, reducing down to 1 vehicular lane. You have the angle parking. You have a significantly more space for things like on-street dining and pedestrian space than you have today. That alone is really going to transform downtown from what it is right now. Next slide. And then just kind of pulling back to an intersection, and you can continue to see, what this is going to look like.
Mike, can you speak a little bit to the flex lane and how it accomplishes a number of different things as designed?
Absolutely. So the flex lane is a big piece of all this, primarily to be used as a bicycle lane. Right now, there are almost no bicycle accommodations downtown. You got a few bike racks. There's only 1 block of the entire downtown that even has a striped bike lane on it. That'll all change with this project. But that flex lane will also provide a place for deliveries that right now cram up. It can cause traffic jams, and there's no good place for those. Garbage pickup, and for those deliveries and garbage pickup, there will be some element of regulation that'll need to come into play to move those to times a day that they would not be where you're not seeing as much bicycle traffic.
So one of the things that we've heard from downtown business owners is there's issues with deliveries and garbage pickup, and how does that get addressed? And so this was proposed in part based on those conversations, finding a way to figure out how to get those big trucks in and out safely and not clogging up the streets. And so we believe that this flex lane can help accomplish that.
Next slide, please. So these are some other examples of designs that went through the process, were refined based on public input. You guys might have seen this from the first public house, the first community open house. This is got a couple images around the square on the north side. Another big piece of the streetscaping project is activating dormant open spaces for events like outdoor concerts. Next slide. And on the east side of the square, using video projection, if you've ever seen one of those shows before, they will blow your socks off. That is really going to attract a lot of people to downtown Bloomington. Next slide. And then I think for the sake of time, rather than a deep dive, this will be a bit more of a teaser with more information coming. But this is refining what we had called before generically North Main Plaza to be used for parking for most of the time, but there will be retractable ballers that you can pull up to close the space for events. Next slide. You can see here the bicycle path going into the downtown core and amphitheater type seating there that also serves as a buffer against the highway. Next slide. Lighting is a big component of what we plan on doing downtown. So in this example, you see the ring structure there that's suspended above the square that can be lit up with different colors. You can't see it quite as well, but the seating behind and then walls around downtown will have with that lighting and those smaller pictures, you kind of get a sense of what that could look like. It definitely give us a unique look. Next, please. And this is if you're driving north on Main Street where it would terminate into that North Main Plaza, what this starts to look like.
And if you can go back just 1 second, I'm sorry. So really, right now, this space, as you all know, is parking. I mean, and it's kind of difficult to navigate. So what would be happening here is creating a space that, as Mike said, we're activating and creating a space where we can do different things and hold different events, et cetera, et cetera. But it still can be maintained and utilized as parking. One of the things that I really like about this space is the wall seating that you show that again allows, say you wanted to have a small performance or concert, you could do that here. In addition to, like I said, continuing to serve as parking space. It really creates another area for the businesses on this part of the downtown to also hold events as well. So.
Thank you. That's helpful. Next slide, please. So we're also looking at revamping the area around the BCPA and the Douglas Street parking lots, which turns out not very many people even understand that there is public parking on Douglas Street. Down in the bottom left, you see a picture. Those lots are pretty dilapidated, underused. And the other issue we're looking to correct right here up above it, there's a congestion of 3 intersections close to each other. That's on US 51. And that's from a traffic perspective, it's unsafe, it's inefficient, it takes up a lot of real estate. And so on the right side there, just to get you oriented on that image, north is to the right. So at the top, you see Main Street where it terminates into that North Main Plaza. The big building there is the BCPA. So we came up with a way of consolidating those 3 intersections into a single intersection that improves the safety, the efficiency, but it also gives us more real estate to create a nice parking area there that gives us more parking than is currently exists right there. And we're able to extend the Lincoln Park, which is that open lawn space right in front of the BCPA, extend the area of that, give it more of a park setting. So we're creating more attractive area over there, better access for BCPA visitors, but also visitors to downtown. Next slide, please. It's just a artist sketch of what that might look like. Next. And then there's a series of sketches. So also on US 51, right now there is no sense of arrival. A lot of times people zip past downtown, they don't even realize they went past downtown. So there's a possible gateway structure there, kind of emphasizing our Route 66 heritage. You can kind of see some of these walls with the lighting and then the bike route coming in there. Next slide. From the opposite direction, this is southbound on Madison, some of those similar elements. Next slide. And then Withers Park is an area that we feel like is also an opportunity. There's just not very many open spaces in downtown Bloomington. And so we're taking advantage of what we've got. And this could be a place that could be a much more active with recreational games and things like that. Next, please. Okay, so this concept here is as a phasing plan. The idea is we take all the different individual street projects and we group them into logical construction projects. And then we sequence those projects based on a number of criteria. The big asterisk on this phasing plan is we know that this is going to change. Things are going to happen in the future. A big private development or a new funding source will come up and we'll need to reprioritize that. But for now, the exercise is really establishing the framework for how we prioritize this so that we can easily adjust in the future. I'll just give you one example of one of the things that went into how we built this. If you look at the downtown core, you'll see kind of alternating 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. The idea there is if we're doing project number 5, we want to make sure that we want to be very sensitive to downtown businesses. There's a lot of upheaval that we're talking about for downtown. We want to make sure they're healthy through that. So by alternating blocks, we make sure that nobody has to detour more than one block in any direction to get to where they need to go.
And I'll add, as you can see, as we've talked about this, the work along Main Street is emerging as a proposed first project for a lot of reasons. One, because of impact and visibility. It takes into account a lot of the elements that we talked about today and gives people an idea of what this project could be if approved by you. And so I just wanted to make note of that. I know you see the one, but the reasoning for that one was multifaceted, and in that, like I said, the impact of that one does a lot for the future projects. It shows what can be done and gives people a big example of what can happen downtown.
Next slide. And actually, if I could have you make your way up here so you're ready for any questions. My contact information is up there. I encourage you guys to reach out to me directly if you have any questions at all or suggestions, ideas. As I say, we do have this second open house coming up. And as Billy suggested, if you haven't already, I strongly suggest you guys visit the downtownforeveryone.com website. And we'll open it up for any questions that you guys have.
Any questions? Councilmember Ward.
Yeah, as you look at the different phases, can you talk a little bit more about pedestrian space? Are there any areas that would be closed off that are now open that would become strictly or primarily pedestrian space? And what's your thinking behind that?
Yes. Pedestrian walkability in general for downtown is one of the main priorities for what this project is intended to accomplish. And that comes from, that's not even our idea, that comes from the city's comprehensive plan and other adopted documents that you guys have. That North Main Plaza was an example of how we could pull up retractable ballers to close office space for event. We're also proposing to have those on Jefferson Street and Main Street there by the square. We didn't have in mind to permanently close off any streets or right of ways that are right now used for traffic. But we were also definitely recommending the street section that gives you more elbow room, makes the downtown more walkable up and down throughout downtown.
And based on what we were shown just now, it sounds like the idea is to maintain the current one-way streets.
Yes.
Mhm.
Councilmember Hendrick.
Could you speak to the different discussions that are taking place with clearly IDOT with our ring roads that go around that very nicely show them as 2 lanes, but I have my questions if that will actually come to fruition with IDOT, but then also with the county and museum. Obviously, you've got us up here to convince, but also their power players in this as well.
Well, let me take the easy one first, and that's the county. So the county has been a great partner. We have representatives from the county on our steering committee. We've met many times with the museum folks and with county administration and the county property committee. And those meetings could not have gone better. They're very supportive of everything you're seeing here. You know, they ask, what can we do to help? So we've revised things when they want to see something a little bit different, but we're walking side by side with them on this. IDOT has had some challenges in that they are currently under a phase 1 study for this route here. And they have in mind to take the 4 lanes that we currently have and reduce them to 3 lanes with an on-street bike lane. We feel, and the members of the bike communities, bike advocacy groups around here feel like that is not very safe to have no physical barrier between the bike lanes and there. And it still does nothing to improve the safety of crossing distances. It's still the same amount of pavement. So a big part of the first half of the work that we were doing was building models, traffic simulations to demonstrate that the reducing not just to 3 vehicular lanes, but to 2 lanes is absolutely feasible. From an engineering standpoint, it works. And from just an anecdotal standpoint, it works because it's already bottlenecked to 2 lanes, both north and south of downtown without any major backup. So we know that we're not worried that a 2-lane solution is the right solution. We know that it is, provides more area for drainscaping, softening up the corridor, all the things that we're looking at. But back to your point, yes, we're showing 2 lanes. IDOT wants to see 3 lanes. We absolutely think that there's opportunity for further discussion there. We do, it wasn't up there for very long, but you might have seen on the phasing, we have IDOT pulled till further back. And the reason is there are so many projects that we can already be investing on inside the core of downtown. We're kind of punting on that a little bit. Billy, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this.
Well, no, and only that. Watching my words. We had a number of meetings with IDOT, and there were multiple discussions, as Mike said, about what can work and what we've shown can work. Ultimately, it became a question of, as Mike said, do we want to move forward with some of these other things first? And realizing that even now, IDOT is proposing to reduce from the 4 to the 3. And so taking that for now, realizing that our ultimate goal is to get to the 2 lanes, and we know that we can. So, and I'll go to your first question as well, related to the county and the museum. As recently as today, we met with the museum folks, and we called the meeting in part because we felt like they were perhaps a little uncomfortable with some of the things that were proposed. So we went back to them to say, hey, we're proposing this. We'll make sure you're good with it. And ultimately, it was decided to change some things. So we've kept them involved from very early on, and we'll continue to do that.
I had a related question. First of all, Mike, thanks for the presentation. What I did want to ask is kind of a follow-up to Councilman Hendrick's question, in that downtown Bloomington has a very long list of colorful small business owners. And I'm wondering, what has your feedback been from them? Or are you coordinating or meeting with them regularly to initiate feedback from them?
Yeah, so we do have a steering committee that is comprised of a cross-section of people with interest in downtown, definitely including small business owners downtown. In addition to that, once we got to the point where we were going to do the first community open house, people from the city of Bloomington went to every business downtown. I think that's correct, right, Billy? To every business downtown, made sure they knew this was an event that we wanted their feedback. We did have some number of business owners that came and we had good discussions with them. So they have definitely been engaged and will continue to be.
We either went to or sent correspondence to every business. So I want to make sure I was clear with that.
Anyone else? Councilmember Motley.
Just a couple questions, and this one came from one of my constituents this afternoon, so I'm just going to pass it along as best verbatim as I can. With regard to the appetite to reduce surface parking near businesses, the individual asked, was there analysis done, during the months like what we have going on around us right now, with regard to clients coming into these businesses and any interaction or survey process about, would you have come if you weren't able to park in front? I'm probably kind of butchering my effort to try and convey this question, but I didn't know how to ask that or answer that question for that individual.
Yeah, I think I understand the question. So it does become difficult to quantify people's appetite and exactly what that will lead to, but there is one group, Walker and Associates, who the city has engaged before to do a parking study downtown, and they have developed what they call a walking level of service. And it is a way of trying to quantify, taking into account climate, including our climate here, what is too far, things are level A, level B, level C, and so on. And we had I think it's on the website, downtownforeveryone.com. We do have an illustration of that shows that any point of downtown is, I'm going off memory here, but I think it's a level A or maybe some level B service. So that I understand that that's not everybody, and there's some people that my wife that is not going to come downtown when it's this cold.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's an opportunity in this next phase, is just to sample the real consumers that are coming in and out of these businesses to just gauge what their feelings are. I mean, it'd just be one more box to check in that regard. Go ahead, Kent.
You may want to add to this the parking management, which is usually the bigger scene, is how many spaces are reserved for quick turnaround. How are the parking garages used? I mean, there's a lot of different items. Every city faces this, and not everybody can have a drive-through beauty shop, as far as that goes. And so I think it's beyond the physical. It's more in management and perceptions.
Great. So along those lines, I think from prior discussions, anecdotally, there'd been some feedback from other communities about, the lack of some small businesses being adversely impacted by that. So that's the basis for the question there. Thank you for leading with that study. Is this the study at smartgrowthamerica.org that's transportation driven, or could you elaborate on the study? Looks like 2015 Complete Streets Policy, smartgrowthamerica.org.
Yes, that is the study.
Okay. Would you be able to share with us, since that study was really transportation focused, it looks like just at a quick glance, it covered a lot of different areas of the country with people adopting policies to encourage safer transportation modes. Would you be able to send us some of these statistics, helping understand the facts behind that revenue growth that you cited? There were a few specific things specifically that you mentioned in your opening, increased consumer spending as evidenced by sales tax revenue increases and population retention and actually population growth. If you would be able to send those, that would be very helpful for me to read and to learn more about.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we call in? Alderman Moore?
Yeah, I wanted to just circle back around to the parking question. In the models that you showed us, it looked to me like there was still quite a bit of parking on, right in front of businesses. Maybe not on both sides of the street, but at least right across the street. And I'm trying to get a sense of how that compares with what there is right now. Are we talking about cutting 50% of the parking, adding 50%? What are we talking about there? Setting aside the big parking lots and garages for a minute.
Sure. Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly what that number is, but what we are looking at, if you drive down Main Street right now, or I'll start with Main Street, you have two vehicular lanes, you have angle parking on one side and you have parallel parking on the other.
Mhm.
We are looking at getting rid of one of those vehicular lanes, but we are putting in a bike lane. And then we're getting rid of the parallel parking on one side. So parallel provides far less spaces than angled parking does. Again, I'm testing my memory on this, but we are not removing parking spaces from downtown. We are relocating them. So we're actually finding new areas through more efficient design that we can add more on-street parking on the east-west streets. For example, we're adding 50 new spaces on the east-west streets, which is, for overflow parking from the spots that you saw in the graphic. And that BCPA lot, we're adding more parking there. We'd hoped that we could do some on-street parking on US 51, and that will be a hill that they die on, and so that's fine.
But like, for example, the east-west streets, would those be like angle parking and that's how you're increasing the amount of parking there? Or, because currently it is mostly parallel, right?
Other than the market where you guys added some to get lined up with.
Market.
Yeah. For the most part, no, we're keeping the cross section similar to what it is with parallel parking on both sides. But there's still opportunity for adding more parallel spaces than are there right now.
Yeah.
And so on Center Street, when you come down that way, there is the 2 lanes of traffic and there's parallel parking on both sides. And we're looking at removing parallel parking just on same as Main Street, removing parallel parking on one side. And that's how we're able to move the curb lines in towards the center of the road and provide more pedestrian space. Does that make sense?
It does. And I, this is just anecdotally, and I'm thinking about my own experience. On a night like this, I'm probably not gonna come downtown to walk around all over the place. Those times when I need to run in and out to a business, I might do that on a day like this, but I would want to have a spot close by. When I think about how I park in the parking garages or the bigger parking lots, it's when I do want to walk around and for a festival or First Friday or something like that. So I'm just offering that. I think that the times when people want the parking spot right in front of the business and that's so urgent. It's different at different times, right? I don't necessarily need that when it's a festival or a big event downtown. And chances are I'm going to be able to find a parking space easier at those times when there isn't a big festival. And when there's a big festival and parking is at a premium, I'm not parking right in front of a specific business. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll just add, we asked the business owners point blank, people in the steering committee, we said, would you rather have more parking would you rather have a parking space right in front of your business? Or do you want to see these more opportunities for outdoor dining and sidewalk sales and things like that? And everybody wanted the make downtown more walkable, more pedestrian friendly. And those are people that are experiencing what you're talking about this time of year.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a sidewalk dinner tonight.
Probably not.
That's just not, I'm a tough person, but not that tough.
We've run out of time for conversation with the council, but Alderman Hendricks has a question or
I just
comment,
had
and I'd like to say something.
one final one. I was probably the only person who in these photos was looking for garbage cans. But as the downtown rep, garbage outside of parking is the probably number one question that gets brought up. And it may be more for city staff as far as what we're looking at surrounding garbage. And another big one is recycling that we really severely lack downtown.
Really quickly, the part of this plan that we did not show was related to garbage, because we could have a whole meeting on that, frankly. But there is a part of this plan that will involve addressing downtown garbage and refuse disposal. We have a different downtown now where we have more residents than we've ever had. And so, you know, as we go forward and actually involving Jeff and his public works folks in this conversation as well, you know, how do we make sure that they have a place to take their garbage that's not necessarily out on the street? So it will be a plan for that, utilizing some of the alleys that are public and having nicely designed spaces for them to put their garbage. Also, potentially going forward, utilizing some of the compactors that you see in some cities that will allow people to put more garbage in while they're out and about. And so that is a part of this. We didn't include it tonight, just because there was a lot to cover tonight. Oh, yeah, it is.
Billy, you have no idea how many times not this council, but trash has been the subject of conversation in this room. Anyway, it's important, but I'm gonna focus, and Deputy City Manager and everyone else knows about that. I have not yet seen anything about the telescoping of the sewers or, you know, any discussion about that or presented to the council. When and if will that be presented?
Mike, you can lead this because you're the engineer, but part of the work when I talked about that boring first part of this project, where we were doing analysis, was involving looking at the underground utilities and sewers, et cetera, to look to see where there were problems, to make sure that we weren't building above those situation where there were problematic underground infrastructure. We've done that work. The Public Works Department had some of that stuff beforehand, so we utilize that in putting together these plans as well. I don't know that we had planned to come forward with, hey, this is the infrastructure, but I guess we can have a conversation to see what that could look like.
Billy?
I referenced you at the beginning because I knew you were gonna ask.
No, well, yeah, and that's going to be one of the
Yeah.
major expenses, in my opinion.
Sure.
And it was mentioned in the thing that we approved, the design plan, that laterals were not going to be televised. And I'm not even sure who would be responsible for replacing the laterals, but those would go underneath the sidewalk. And, you know, maybe somebody should peek to see. And if you're putting in new streets and sidewalks, the life of those are what, 20 years? So you want to make sure that the sewers are at least that, if not more. You know me. And one last thing, I'm glad that there's going to be another open house. I was unfortunately not able to attend the one in October, but 4 to 6 people are either at work or barely getting out of work. So being able to attend, that's always a problem when you're reaching out as the city to get feedback. And I also remember when this was presented, that an effort would be made for the city to meet the residents where they are. And what I'm seeing is that the second open house is on city property, the same place, the same time. And you're going to get the same people. I mean, you know, people that are not working. at those hours.
Yeah.
I-
We're definitely open to looking at longer hours. The last one that we did was 4 to 7 and it had all but dried up by 6 o'clock. And
Okay.
that's why we thought just go
Okay.
till 6 o'clock.
Was
But
were the hours supposed to go longer last time?
it was supposed to go from 4 to 7.
Okay,
I couldn't believe how many people were there right at 4 and then it just kind of declined from there.
okay. Probably all the people that live and work downtown
Not
or,
necessarily.
yeah, yeah,
It was
okay.
good.
And we,
I'm just throwing it out there because,
you're right.
you know, that's an issue with a lot of things, not just this particular.
Absolutely.
Um,
You're right. And we did go to some of the community groups and organizations and talk about this project. Obviously, we could definitely do more and will. We absolutely should.
Okay.
I know time is up.
oh, no, I know.
The manager has been actively involved in this conversation. I kind of just started rambling. So wanted to give him a chance to talk if you wanted to say anything. Sorry.
I will. I'll be very brief. This is very exciting and felt it appropriate to have an update. As Mike and the deputy city manager shared, there's more to come. We have the event at the BCPA on February 13th. And then we'll come back to council, sometime, shortly after that to present a final copy, a final draft to be adopted. So this is about communication and outreach so that we try to get all those involved, all those that are interested, try to generate interest in this. And I think the fact that we have 10,000 hits on the website that was created, speaks to the outreach, being very successful with this. And it's other partners in the community. I know that we've got the chamber that's here with the executive team. We've got the EDC and very excited about this because at the end of the day, I think the community knows, now 5.5 years of me as city manager, I'm not a near miss person at all. I've got to make sure that I put council on firm ground as, we're in this chapter of Bloomington's history and we're doing a lot everywhere. And I've said this many times. I know that we can do everything that we're talking about. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is city manager discussion.
We're going to open this up. Every year, we've done this for the past couple of years. And as an organization, we actually lost 2 employees unexpectedly this past year. And Gary Beeler worked in the Public Works Department for several years. The Beeler family is employees. We have Michelle, his sister, his son Steele is in this second slide. And we did lose Gary again unexpectedly this past fall. So want to take the opportunity. I know that we recognize new hires, promotions. We just did with the leadership cohort, but also want to take this opportunity at least once a year to recognize our employees. I know we've got Jeannie and Julian here from the library. But Caprice Prognow was also an unexpected loss here a couple of months ago. Again, a longtime employee of the library. And both these employees, just were very positive influences, very, very missed in both of their departments. So wanted to take an opportunity to do this with both employees. Next slide, please. I think this is new hires. Yes, it is. We have Sahara that was hired December 18th as a horticulturalist with Parks and Rec, and Karen is a support staff for operations and engineering. So those are the 2 new hires in December. And then we have Catherine's event video, and then I've got one final comment.
Embark on a journey of community involvement as Parks and Recreation's winter-spring registration is already in full swing. Uncover a multitude of activities and programs designed to cater to a diverse range of interests and age groups. Whether you're passionate about fitness, arts and crafts, or outdoor adventures, there's something tailored just for you. But the excitement doesn't end there. Miller Park Zoo is actively seeking enthusiastic individuals to join their dedicated volunteer team. As a volunteer, you'll play a vital role in enhancing the zoo experience for visitors and contribute to the well-being of a fascinating array of animal residents. Your participation goes beyond just volunteering. It becomes a meaningful contribution to the community and the lives of these incredible creatures. Be part of these enriching experiences that bring people together, foster a sense of belonging, and contribute to the vibrancy of the community.
Thank you, Catherine. Do a much better job than me, and we're able to push this on social media, so thank you. Final comment, wanted to share the release that went out today, and we're going to talk about the city's arena. Professional hockey, will come before council to approve the contract next Monday night. That announcement came from the Hallett family, which has a long history with professional hockey. They're out of Indianapolis, so this is exciting. But that announcement is coming next week, followed up by a press release by all the involved parties, the name, the NHL affiliate, and it's extremely exciting. But I'm going to take a quick moment to talk about the arena. When I was hired 5.5 years ago, that was a major priority of the council that hired me, and it's also been a major priority of the councils. I've served 24 elected officials in the 5.5 years that I've been here. And I can't help but think about the arena and the decisions that have been made to put us in this position where we're at today, and it's exciting. One of the first decisions, a big one, was that for the first time ever, we were going to take this in-house and not have a third party managing, the arena. So we were going to control our own destiny. Went out to a nationwide search to find who that executive director was going to be. And we had a couple of candidates that, probably were the ones that, everyone would have thought we would have selected, but we just couldn't shake the feeling, the drive, the determination, the loyalty to the community. And when we stood up this new department, Anthony Nelson was an employee of the city's already and has been doing an amazing job. During COVID, we turned it into a vaccination site. The city of Bloomington was never closed during COVID. We stood up employees in the ticket windows of the arena as well. Entertainment is coming back. And then now with professional hockey coming before this council, they've been prepped. It's an agenda item for next week. It's a very, very exciting day. And I'm also proud to say more to come. So just hang on. Thank you.
Sounds like good news. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Councilmember Hendricks and seconded by Councilmember Dannenberger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you. Kelly?
Good seeing you.